Sparks that I don't remember. Hold and let it shine. Fix and start to fade away. Fix and start to fade away. Fix and start to fade away.
Hello, friends of Kabala International. We are once again with Mario Sabán.
How are you, Nacho?
Very good, fantastic. Very happy to continue dealing with the subject of evil.
Evil excites us. A very rare thing, a very rare thing.
It is not a perversion, but it is a genuine interest to discover and to be able to go deeper into this subject. I am going to work again on your book, Satan's Strategies, in which I am going to read a small fragment that seems to me a good way to introduce us to the talk. From here in your book you express, in a literal way, you say, "We know that evil acts by certain strategies, one by confusion and two by the emotional. The confusion causes contradictions to appear where there are none. And with respect to the emotional, it is when it attacks, where we are attached in a sentimental way."
That's right. Look, the subject of evil, of course, has many strategies. These are not the two, but these, I would say, are quite basic. Notice that in Hebrew, the term contradiction is stira. Stira, if we divide it to the word as we do in Kabbalah, we have zetaria, the secret of God. This means that a contradiction is a contradiction because of our limitations. It is not a real contradiction. We do not see the way out of that contradiction because we do not have more information. If we had more information, the contradiction would disappear. Basically, we could say that there is nothing contradictory in the universe. On the contrary, it does not exist. What happens is that since we do not have all the information available, we get stuck. Somehow we block ourselves in that contradiction that becomes a secret for us. So all intellectual contradictions are derived from our limitations. And as these limitations are somehow overcome, then the contradictions are also overcome. In short, we could say that the first attack of evil, when we talk about confusion, because this is a little bit the theme, isn't it? The confusion of good and evil has to do with a matter of limits. Notice that in Hebrew we call virtue midah, from which comes midot, virtues, and midah also means limit, or measure. That is to say, when I have a measure, I am virtuous. What does this imply? If I can measure something, when I can no longer measure it, then it becomes a transgression, it becomes an imbalance. So, it is very difficult for us at a mental level to measure the energies. And as we measure them wrongly because we do not have all the information, then undoubtedly we provoke evil. But I would say that it is not an intentional evil that we are talking about. It is an evil that goes out of our hands because of our inability to see more, because of our lack of information. We could say that it is an evil because of limited knowledge or because of our ignorance.
Right, ignorance.
The second case is somewhat different, because the second theme of evil at the emotional level has to do with the dependencies that we create because of our identity weakness. Of course, dependence in the first years, but with time we have to achieve the independence of the self. That is to say, the latifere, the center of the tree of life, has to create a strong self, a strong subjectivity, which does not depend on others. And here there is a key factor, which is love, where there are many people who confuse love with emotional dependence. So, the only way not to have emotional dependence with love is that love for others is equal to the love we have for ourselves. If one says to another, "I love you more than I love me," there is something wrong. I mean, for what reason? Because I cannot value someone more than myself. That is, I have to love myself on the same level. The commandment of the Torah is explicit, Leviticus. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. Self marks me a love on the same level as the other. When there is an emotional dependence, the love for the other is either superior to mine or inferior. That is, either I love others less than myself, or I love others more than myself. In either case, there is a problem. Especially if I love others more than me, there is an emotional dependence on others. Then, in an emotional dependence, of course, the meaning of your life is totally distorted because you begin to be manipulated by your affective relationships. So what you have to do is to have a strong self, a strong level of self-esteem, to increase the level of self-esteem to break the emotional dependencies. And in this way, these dependencies do not hold you to a path that is not yours. So, that is another type of evil. Now, if we follow the analysis in more depth, there are people, and I have known them, there are people, and I have met them, who have really impacted me when I have treated them maybe 10, 12 years ago and some of them recently, where when I start to check what imbalances they have, I do not find any. I mean, we check this imbalance, I don't find. We check this imbalance, I don't find. And I say, my God, good thing, there are rectified albs here, because there is no way and there is no strategy to hide the imbalance either.
That's where the evil was.
Evil was operating, relaxing you in your idea of not having imbalance. That is to say, the last blow of evil is a blow of evil where evil stops attacking and says, now I'm going to stop attacking. As I'm going to stop appearing, it is going to weaken. And then we could say that it attacks through the invisible. That is, I leave him, I do not challenge him anymore, and then the person goes to sleep in a complacency, and then Satan is operating from the invisible. Seeing that you in the complacency of not having obstacles, you go to sleep. It is the worst of evils. No, because it is terrible. It is a very common evil in our society today. That is to say, there are many self-satisfied people who say, well, I can more or less live like this, and then they confuse self-satisfaction with tranquility. Be careful. There are people who say, I live peacefully. No, you are complacent. You live quietly. You can be very dynamic and calm at the same time, but no, it takes away your strength. It takes away your dynamism. Well, I don't do this. I can do it tomorrow. I'm not doing this. I can do it next week. You start to procrastinate, to leave everything for the future. You go to sleep and Satan says, but good, how well I am doing it. This is the death blow. This person is weakening because he has no obstacles. When I put obstacles in his way, I made him grow. Then, wow, he was getting stronger and stronger. Now, how does the strategy change? The strategy is weakened by goodness.
Attacking for the good, in quotation
For the
marks.
good. Well, attacking for the good, many human beings do it. Mothers who feed their children because they want to overprotect them, and the child is 200 kilos. So, of course, let's say, complacency leads to imbalances. That is to say, if you want to overprotect someone, if you want to, of course you are causing them harm. There are some forms of love that are very unbalanced because in some way they help and boycott. That is to say, they are really like satanic. There are styles of couple that do not want, for example, the couple to do sports, because in that way the person takes care of him herself, and they do not let her take care of him herself. There are a lot of satanic attitudes out of complacency that disguise evil as good.
Right.
And these are the most complicated strategies to dismantle.
Well, narcissistic perverse personalities are the archetype of the satanic.
Yes, there is also a kind of self-satanic self-justifications, to call them in some way, where you want to be in that safety zone, and you have to be self-deceptive to stay in that safety zone with a bit of pride, because on the other hand, you believe that you have finished all your task, as a kind of overcoming, right? The surpassed. Nobody here has surpassed anybody, not even oneself is surpassed. So, it is like the person who is undaunted in front of reality. Like Buddha reached nirvana, all the rest of us are in absolute darkness, but this one who reached nirvana, what nirvana? This one is also worse than in darkness than we are, because he is not developing his potential. That is to say, in short, we could say that the Kabbalah makes Keter, in a certain way, unattainable. So that what we have to develop is, when Satan wants to put me to sleep out of complacency, to put my own obstacles and goals in order for me to somehow create my own challenges. That is to say, if Satan goes to sleep, I have to activate my Satan to put obstacles to myself in order to grow, and then demonstrate to Satan that I am doing the work that he had to do, and then the complacent one is the one who is falling asleep. That is to say, in reality, I am teaching Satan, and then Satan says, my God, now that I am gone, I don't put obstacles for him, he puts them for himself. It means that this guy came to understand at a very high level, because if he kills me out of complacency, then Satan comes to God and says, see, we are killing him out of joy and happiness. He's not realizing that if he doesn't set himself a challenge, the training has to continue through thick and thin. If it is in the bad times, the training goes very fast, because you have to get out of the bad times, and Satan comes and makes you train incredibly hard. In the good times, it is more difficult, because in the good times you think that Satan has gone to sleep and that he will not come back forever, but that sleeping Satan is still much more terrible than the present Satan. That is, the absent Satan has more power than the present Satan.
Actually, it is an error of perception. The perception is altered and one thinks that the Satan is absent, but in reality he is attacking by another way.
Of course, but for that reason we have to be sufficiently worked inside at the level of increase, at the level of consciousness, that in our growth we cannot stop. We have to train ourselves, and precisely when things are good, we train ourselves better. That is to say, when things are good, you have to train. When things are bad, how much are you going to train? That is, when the disease has arrived, there is no more prevention. There is prevention when the disease has not arrived. So, I am going to prevent when I am well. When I am bad, I am already bad. So what the Kabbalah is saying, in my opinion, the Kabbalah is a highly preventive spirituality, where it tells you, let's see, if you are in a time of 7 fat cows, then save when the cows are fat. What does this mean? This on a spiritual level means you have the 7 cows, study, work, learn, develop. The lean cows come, and it finds you strong, at least it finds you trained. What happens? In the fat cows, people fall asleep. The lean cows come, people wake up. And why did you wake up? Well, because the lean cows are coming. No, your awakening should have been at all times. In the fat cows there should have been awakening. Therefore, the spirituality of the Kabbalah proposes that when we see that Satan is sleeping, we have to stay awake.
Right. Well, Mario, I think that in the talk we have been able to go a little bit deeper, and I believe that the talk on evil has much more to offer. So I invite you to continue deepening in the process, God willing.
God willing, thank you.